There's only two things today in the news that's worthy of looking. I mean, I can scroll through everything that I see. You'll notice that my news is different than yours. That's because of a little thing called regional censorship, which is really neat. Allegations of just obstructions of justice. Allegations. So it's not even really a real hearing, right? Senate votes to overturn, has votes. Oh, you see, there's a little brain slip. The word. It just means that they all went to lunch together, probably on your dime, and they figured out that they have enough people that are in agreement to do something. Because I have been to those legal meetings where everyone goes hee haw and they go to a big, a buffet. And yes, I did pull the old the CIA trick of calling. It was actually funny where you don't have a confrontation with someone, you pick your phone up and you pretend like you're talking to the phone. It was. I had one of the higher ups come over to my table, and he wouldn't stare me at the face. He just kept looking at the wall like he was looking at the paintings because he kept hearing something. He was hearing me say something that was offensive to him. It was funny. I mean, it made me laugh. You know how sometimes when you're at a you hear things out of the corner of your ear and you're like, did I hear that right? Yeah. Colorado snow. Wow. I remember living up north. Yeah, we used to live maybe like an hour from Canada. Wasn't that far away, actually. I mean, you could go to Canada just by walking through the mountains. And I do remember snow all the way up to my shoulders. It was fun. At least I thought it was fun when I was a kid. As I got older, it got miserable. Nosebleeds all year round because the air was so dry. Photo students, who cares? All right. Obviously, they're trying to do some kind of military thing in Venezuela. The Vatican opens up. Judge denies American port. I don't know any of these people. I don't know any of these people. Excuse me. I don't know any of these people. For selling tobacco products to minors. Huh. Oh, well. There goes niacin right there. Oh, God. Next, they're going to be taking niacin off the shelves, and they're going to force you to take it out of all of the foods. Galaxy S10 takes. Okay. Samsung reveals more about more phones. I haven't even been able to afford any of their newer phones since the last 5 years because uh, they haven't done anything different. They've gotten more expensive and nothing's changed about them. Oh, great. Here we go again with the USB fight. I knew there was a reason why Tech Tips had an article on that. Because they changed everything around again. So what was USB 3.1 is now going to be called USB 3.0. And what was USB 3.0 is now going to be called USB like 2.9 or something weird. It's confusing. It's very confusing what they did. Well, of course they do it for money. See, I don't know. I don't know anything about this person. Never met him. He might be a cousin or something. I don't know. If he had a stroke, he must have had massive amounts of clot factor and what do they call that? Yeah, K2, vitamin K2. He was probably might have had some uptake issues on that. You need a lot of vitamin D and a lot of vitamin K too. But I don't know, looking at the papers, if the evidence says that it causes strokes or if it helps it. Because you would think something that causes clotting would actually cause. I don't know anything about this. Right? I was just a kid left alone outside. That was my whole childhood, basically. So I don't really get stuff like that. All right, a songwriter dies. Yeah. Most people in our families don't live past 60. My mom didn't. They just don't live past 60. It's mainly because of neglect and, when you have a large extended family, it's all about the legality of getting money and then forcing everyone to stay far away from you using courts. It's a really horrible thing, but it's what they do. It's like it's their way. Science. Okay, this is what I want to talk about. Corn and other imports can now be gene edited by pollen carrying CRISPR. Okay, here's the problem. It's not the experiments that they're doing. Here's the problem with that, is that they had sat down in a round table somewhere and they said, hey, can we sue farmers if we can prove that our genetic editing is in their crop? So then they went and they bought some land upwind of a farmer that they wanted to attack. And they let their genetically engineered crops pollinate this farmer's crop fields, and they sued them for stealing their property. And do you think that's right? Of course, everyone that would hear that would say that's not right. Not only is it not moral, it has no morality to it at all. It is akin to something that would come out of the gangster era. It sounds like something corrupt legal officials would do, right? And the fact that they would allow something like that. But that's what they're planning to do with this. They're going to throw this pollen in the air. They're going to let it infect people's crops and say, those are my crops now. Pay me. That's exactly what they're planning. I've seen the paperwork and everything and how they had planned it right from the very beginning. So if they want to do gene editing, they have to sign agreements. They can't sue people for using their own genetics. That's the only way that I would ever allow that to be done. And it's the only way that you should allow it to be done. You, the people, should not let this be done, because they're going to mess up. They're going to mess up a lot of farmers' crops. And most of farms are consolidated. They're huge multi-billion-dollar enterprises now because of the way that the banks forced this go big or go home type of policies on these people. So every year they had to keep increasing their crop sizes, which meant buying up other farms that were smaller and couldn't continue at the pace to compensate for the inflation. So now we have these huge multi-billion-dollar farm industries, and this is their way to attack that. So they're not going to sell these edited genes to these farmers. They're going to just infect their crops and then sue them in court. So that's just a good forewarning to you. I would have loved to have seen this live, because it was a personal, how do you say it? Not because it was a, yeah, I know it's a private enterprise and it has no place in the public, right? Because then it would be considered, the way the SEC is going now, it would be considered manipulating the stocks. But just as a kid, I would have loved to have seen that live. The launch and everything. But they don't let you see stuff like that anymore. It's all private. And this guy right here defied mother he's going to testify before Congress about defying his mother and getting a vaccine shot. How does that make him an expert? That's like defying your mother and pointing a loaded gun at your head and pulling the trigger and saying, well, I didn't die from it, so therefore it must be safe. What? I just noticed this. Well, how evil the medication industry is. If they're doing a recall, it means that they plan on getting sued a lot, enough to put their funding at risk. They do not do recalls on drugs that they know will kill 5% of the population because they know they can handle the lawsuits from that. It's not a punitive measure against the company anymore because they make so much money that a 5% loss, which actually whittles down to 1% once you throw money at the judges and the lawyers. You see what I'm saying? They know that they can easily take that loss, even if they know that they killed those people. And that's how they consider it. That's what they consider when they talk about it, when they sit in their boardrooms. What? I clicked on this because why would you call your child a plant? Sensitive kids. I'm not endorsing this or anything. I'm just. Oh, it's just saying being loving and having routines in your life and being positive. And of course, the old, you know, if you break something, you have to clean it up. Using positive reinforcement for mistakes. Everyone like knows that. I mean, that's obvious. Pushing kids to stretch and do new and difficult things. Have you ever seen videos of the plains kids? Those parents, they have like a southern drawl and they post videos of them yelling at their kids to beat the shit out of some other kid. Kick his ass! Go ahead, you can do it! And then everyone goes, oh, that's so horrible. Uh, hello. I grew up over there. That's what they did. That's what parents did. They encouraged all their kids to have, knock people's teeth out fights. That was their way of living over there. They just don't publicly advertise it. And yeah, it means that they have, they're not as smart. Okay, I don't really find anything useful in that article. But yeah, okay, this guy is not an expert. It doesn't matter what he testifies before Congress. Everything he says is just, hey, I just didn't do what my mom told me to do. But that is what I was concerned about. Because I already know how they're going to use this. They're going to they're going to change the genetic information in other people's neighboring crops. And rather than the liability being on these people, like a farmer should be able to sue them for having the genetic information changed on their own natural crops, which is how you would think about it. It was the other way around because now they're copywriting their changed genes. So now if your crop gets infected, we own your crop. It doesn't matter if a bee or a butterfly or something carried the pollen over there to do it. You see what I mean? Anyway, that's all I wanted to say.